Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel, wishing you a happy Nothing Start Tesla Saturday morning over here as we prepare to unravel the devastation of Friday, the absolute devastation of that massive red party that we did indeed see, of which I wanted to follow up on first, what that means for the higher term timeframes as we get that major 5-day closure and what that means, maybe for the next couple weeks to come, and then thread that into the lower term timeframes, of which yesterday we were looking at a break below 23,500 as begetting continuation somewhere around 22,900. I do believe we got that move in the early morning hours here, or actually late hours last night. Yeah. Anyways, I wanted to follow up on that, and let's just jump right into it right now. So starting off right in over here with the 5-day time frame. Yesterday we were looking at the Gaussian channel 5-day mean band, once again rejecting price action, which does bring into question in a more serious tone that there is an actual legitimate threat now of Bitcoin having an extended downside move to the bottom side of the band here, which would be the low $20,000 territory, somewhere between about 20,000 to 20,500. I'm not saying that's a super high probability, but it's a legitimate threat now to prepare for and put on the board here. In fact, I believe that's also where the last major CME gap is on the daily over here. Indeed it is, mid to low $20,000 territory. In fact, that's even where the top side of the daily Gaussian channel is coming in for CME. But for right now, going back to the 5-day, here would be my main sort of proposition in this next week or two of price action. As long as Bitcoin is living below the mean band, the very mean band over here that's been rejecting price action, which is currently at 23,800, downside does exist, like legitimate downside does exist, because that would be, I suppose, like 15 to 20% move. Of course, this range is going to change as we get new closures, but for right now, that is something to be aware of, I do think. So here's the thing. If Bitcoin does close back above the mean band, at that point, we can once again talk about, or it'll be a lot more relevant to be speaking about, major continuation of upside targets, and 27,000 or 28,000 bucks would be back on the menu, as like a relatively interesting area to be speaking about, within the following week or two, something like that. But in this case right here, again, 23,800, the magical number, that will obviously change on the next closing period in the next 4 days. Here's the thing though, I want to go back into the lower term timeframes over here. As yesterday we were looking at, damn it, I'm just drawing bullshit again. Here we go. Okay, so yesterday we were looking at the bottom side of the 50% of historic returns range lows on the HPDR indicator as begetting continuation to 22,900. That was a daily target actually, based off the bottom side of this range right here, the nice bottom side of the blue range right here, as you can see. That move obviously happened. We are getting like something resembling a short-term bounce here as of right now, but kind of the same thing as before in the sense that, Bitcoin over the weekends, we can look at the hourly as showing the top side of the 50% historic returns range highs at 23,420. Great number, but as long as Bitcoin is closing below there, even on a short-term time frame basis, preferably like a 4-hour time frame would look a lot more great. There's no real consideration of Bitcoin playing into that potential trap that we spoke about on the 5-day over here, meaning that Bitcoin crawling back above the mean band and initiating a greater move to the upside, a much more impressive move to the upside. In fact. So again, keep that number in mind for the short term. By contrast, if Bitcoin does close below the bottom side of the 50% of historical returns range lows at 22,800 or so, even on an hourly time frame, very likely getting ready for the next move down to 22,450 to 22,500. Probably a short-term bounce there, but at that point, the daily probably takes over, and probably going to see 22 even. And perhaps even initiate that move down closer to the bottom side of the Gaussian channel in the 5-day time frame. So that's where that would become more relevant, especially with a daily closure below 22,900 or so. That's where things start to take a bit more of a nasty tumble in the short term. But for right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see this over the weekend where we get a quick move to the bottom side of this range and then bounce off of it yet again. In fact, no, we don't have any setups over here actually. So yeah, the hourly on the HPDR does not have any setups. So I will bring up one a little bit later. for the people who actually stay towards the end, but in this case, the HPDR indicator is not going to give us much here. Yes, so moving on now. Again, if Bitcoin does crawl its way back up here, that's at the point where I'd say, hey, your 5-day time frame probably are going to have a legitimate possibility to be a trap. Gets confirmed back above 23,800 over here, especially on a higher term time frame closing basis. At that point, yeah, Bitcoin back on to the prior highs at 25 and probably beyond as well there. But to put it in another small statement, as long as Bitcoin's living below, pressure remains to the downside. Now, here's the thing. If we go and reference lower term time frame stochastic momentum over the weekend, which the hourly, for whatever reason, is actually pretty fucking good over the weekend. The other time frames not so much. Bitcoin's gonna have a chance here, perhaps. Hourly stochastic momentum will show upside pressure as long as Bitcoin's above 22,950. 4-hour time frame will flip to the upside from the critical zone above 23,350. 6-hour time frame will also flip to the upside from the critical zone above 23,150. A lot of these numbers again coming in the same region here. 12-hour time frame again working its way towards the critical zone, plus also potentially going to fulfill a trendline regression retest that's held up the low since December, like the major lows that is. Will turn up above 24. Obviously, that pivot will move significantly down on the next closing period. And then the daily still way up there at 24,700 or so. So, that is still going to be a bit of an issue. But, over the weekend, does Bitcoin get a short-term try to the upside, maybe after retesting the lows? Yeah, very possible here. The question is, do you start to close above this region and initiate all of the time frames showing upside momentum? At that point, a trap is a real consideration. I would even say a significant likelihood if that were to happen. And as we'll go over in tomorrow's video, the higher term timeframes, the macro timeframes, still do favor continuation as far as I'm concerned. But I'll leave that for tomorrow's video. Let's now go into the last chart of the day. This one, for the people who actually stay here towards the end, I want to show another one of these setups. Obviously, yesterday's did not work out. We were looking at the 4-hour time frame. So fair enough, when we're talking about this, we're talking about probabilities, not certainties. And we've seen a lot of these work out in the past, few weeks here. So it's inevitable that one of them is going to fail, and that one certainly did. In this case, we have another hourly setup here. We can see that the hourly jewel has come down below the 35 marker right here, and it's turned white on the first tick right here. So my strategy tester said that we have an entry. I don't know if we have, do I have a time frame filter on this? Wait, the 3-day. Okay, I don't want a 3-day. I want a 3-hour. Well, whatever. Let's just see what it says like this. Actually, still pretty damn good, but maybe it should be on a 3-day because that was even better. All right, we'll go to a 3-day. Regardless, it's going to show us something nice as we can go over right here. There we go. And we could see that, with this particular setup, when the 3-day trend is to the upside, using this as an edge, there's been a 75% probability that Bitcoin will initiate a short-term upside move of about 2%, let's say, on average. So going back into it over here, what would 2% look like from that setup given? 2% would put Bitcoin back at about 23,600. Okay, well, if that does happen, then we can go back over here and we can start to, look at the avalanche of effects after that. But for right now, it's a little bit more likely. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't retest the lows, but if it starts to close below those lows, that's an invalidation. That begets lower price action first. And also, what else was I going to say? And then also the average bars and trades. So we can also, see on average what we expect, that to kind of take. So let me just make sure that you can actually see this. Okay, you can see this. And going back into it right here, what would 12 bars look like from that particular point? Well, we're already at bar number 10. So if it's going to happen, probably sometime later today. It is a weekend, so, it's going to be some variance in those numbers anyways. But ultimately, probably looking, somewhere later today, maybe tomorrow if it's going to be happening. But yeah, just like before, 75% is not 100%. So it's pretty good. It's not fucking perfect, obviously. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. I want to be, once again, shilling Bybit. They got their promotion going on for 0% on maker fees on derivative contract orders with the link in the description below. Blah, 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 blah. Read the fine print because it might be for you, might not be for you. You are obviously a well-educated adult, and you can make that decision for yourself. Yeah, and with that said, I want to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.